Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Books and Life. Well, I'm here today. Anyway, I'd like to start by apologizing for not uploading anything last week, but adulthood bros. I got busy with some things here and there, but I'm back now. In Atomic Habits, even maybe before I should go on, Atomic Habits, the author used to say that if you do it once, it's a mistake, but then if you do it twice, it's a habit, right? So here I am today. I didn't want it to become a habit. If I miss one episode, then I miss another one, it will become something out of hand. Anyway, I hope everyone is doing okay and is staying safe wherever you are. So today's episode is going to be very brief and interesting, hopefully. I really hope you guys enjoyed previous week's episode because I just hope you guys enjoyed it. Anyway, I know Books and Life is something new and we're still catching up to it, but hopefully we'll get there. So what is today's episode all about? It is going to be my story. It's just a story and nothing more about it, right? So I'm going to tell you guys how I became a consistent reader and how you guys can become consistent readers yourselves. It's all about that really. Anyway, so first things first. There is nothing acrobatic about this video. It's just going to be a story time thing, and eventually I hope it goes well, right? Anyway, so here's the thing, guys. Before 2020 happened, I wasn't a consistent reader. Well, except for the, that duration, high school duration. When I was in high school, I used to be a very good reader in the sense that I used to love reading set books. So you'd find that I'd read set books more than enough time. So at times, I'd even go up to 5 times, 6 times. I just loved reading. But then what happened is that when I joined campus, I stopped reading because, in high school, set books were a must. But right now, when you're in campus, you're like, bro, we are relaxing, we're chilling, right? So I didn't used to read in first year, second year, third year. I didn't even used to read all of my years in campus until when COVID happened. That was in second semester of my 4th year. And then I went home. That was in 2020. When we went back home after COVID happened, I found myself with so much time. So when I wake up in the morning, I do other things and then I work out. And then after working out, I realized that I don't do much with my time. So I started reading just to pass time. So I decided, let me just do what? You know what? Let me just start, read, and then, it wasn't something like a goal. No, it was just reading for the sake of it because I had so much time and I didn't know what to do with it. So that is how I started reading in 2020. And then when I was reading, at that time I started with a self-development book because I don't know, for some reason, even before I started reading self-development books, I'm just a self-development nerd. So it was inescapable to not read self-development books. So when I started reading, I read this one. Which one was it in 2020? It has to be emotional intelligence or something of that sort, and it was so nice. And then I realized, okay, this is not bad. I can be doing this, every month. So in 2020, I read books, but not intentionally. I just read them for the sake of passing time. Then last year in 2021, I started becoming very intentional about reading books. So I'd say that my consistent reading habit started last year because last year is when I became intentional about reading books. And then here I am, 2022. I'm still reading books very consistently, and so far so good. I really love the experience. That is all about it, really. There is no much info at yours. Do what happened in Nini? No one encouraged me to read. I just read by myself, and COVID was the reason why I started reading. And I'm glad that I started reading. Well, just like any other thing, I struggled with reading a bit, especially when I was starting to read. During 2020, there I was like, it's too much. At times I'd find myself sleeping, dozing off, But then when I started becoming very intentional about it, that is when everything changed. Right now, if there is one thing I don't struggle with, it is definitely reading. Like I read and read and read, and I enjoy it. So that is it really, guys. That is how I started becoming a consistent reader, and I've been keeping up with the habit up until now. And hopefully it's something that I'm going to keep with me for the longest time to come. So how do you become a consistent reader yourself? Guys, I'm going to advise you from the things that have worked for me. So here's the thing, you really have to be intentional about reading. Like, just like any other thing, you must set the intention for it. I find that when you set the intention to do something, it becomes easier for you to do it. But when you just wake up and do it when you feel like it, and not do it when you don't feel like it becomes hard. So I'd just say first thing is to just set the intention to read. Yeah, the second thing is set a scheduled time. Anyway, set a time for it. So for me, in 2020, I used to work out in the morning, and I still love reading in the morning. Right now, I work out depending on my time. So I no longer have like a set time for working out, no. So, but in 2020, I used to work out in the morning. I'd stay indoors a lot of the times because everyone was staying indoors, right? Yeah. So I'd wake up in the morning and then I'd work out, and then after working out, I'd meditate and then read afterwards. So that's how I used to do it. And it really used to work for me, because I realized when you set like a consistent time for yourself, you find yourself showing up for the activities set for that time. So I used to know in the morning after working out and meditating, I definitely read. So it's something that was already instilled in my mind subconsciously. I knew that this is how it goes: working out, and then we meditate, and then we read. It wasn't, and then it became so easy for me. So I'd say if you're trying to like adapt reading culture, you should set a time for it. So if it's in the evenings, just set a time for it and stick to it for at least a couple of days, and then after that you'll eventually do it by yourself without even the need of a reminder or anything of that sort. Perhaps the last thing is choose a genre for yourself. Like the moment you know what it is that you want to read, it becomes so easy for you to actually show up for it. In the case of books, choose what sets your soul on fire. Don't go with the tribe at everyone is reading Atomic Habits at the moment, let me go and read Atomic Habits. No, if self-help books is not your thing, don't try to like just adapt it. Introduce it to your culture slowly, but make sure that you start with something that makes you want to read. So start out with blogs, maybe start out with something. If you're into health related articles, start with that. Then eventually you can go and buy books that are health related. Or if you are into fitness, start with articles, blogs that talks about fitness, and then eventually that's how you move to books. If you're into self-help, start with articles, newsletters about self-help, and then eventually that's how you go into books. Yeah, so identify a genre for yourself and then stick to that, so that you actually first create the habit of reading. Then eventually when you have introduced the habit and you've stuck to it, and it becomes something that you do without a second thought, that's when you can choose a different genre. So what happens for me is that I normally have a challenge. It's called a book reversal challenge. So I read 6 books back to back, January to June, and after that I repeat the same book until the year ends. So what happens is that for those 6 months I would have already chosen the book that I want to read, and I know for sure that I'm a self-development nerd, so it has to be a self-help book. Anything that comes after that, it can be a fictional book, it can be any kind of book that is not self-help, it's just an additional book for me. So I have reading has become so easy for me because I know what it is that I'm into. So if it's not self-help, I will take some time before I decide that is this something that I want to read. If yes, why do I want to read it? So that is how that is the final thing that I'd advise for you to do if you want to become a consistent reader. So we say that be intentional about reading. Make sure you set to your mind that reading is what you want to adapt. And then secondly, set a specific time for it. So if in the evenings is when you have extra time, or you have free time, then or during the day or in the morning, then choose that time and then start reading at that time. Lastly, you make sure that you pick a genre for yourself so that it doesn't become hard for you to like decide what it is that you want to read. So guys, that has been all about it for our today's episode. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode, as it's been very brief and very informative, I really hope. And anyway, if you find it helpful, please share, like and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so that you get notified every time I post a new video. Yeah, until the next episode of Books and Life, stay safe, and I'll see you then. Bye.